This is Robert Clinkybeard and David Anderson with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes of your life to deliver some amazing business content from accomplished leaders to bring you value, scale your business, and better yourself personally. We hope you really enjoy the show, and I encourage you to share with your network so they can subscribe and we can expand these messages globally. We are also super excited to be supported by two brilliant sponsors. If you're tired of measuring properties, Site Recon platform fully automates measurements so you can focus on sales. So think measurements, think Site Recon. The other sponsor is Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field no matter where you are. Company Cam brings documentation, communication, and liability protection together in one simple, easy to use app for you and your entire team. Company Cam is the only app every landscaper needs. Check it out. Hi, this is Robert Clinkybeard with the Commercial Landscapers Podcast. I'm really excited today to be joined by Jim Turner. Jim, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
No problem. So tell me a little bit about you and your company. What's your background?
Personally, I live in Houston, Texas with my wife and two kids. Grew up in Minneapolis, went to college out east, and moved to New York and got into the investment banking and private equity industry and did that for a long time. And a few years ago, invested in a company called TIP Excise. And TIP Excise is a company that is a tax consulting firm, and we focus on helping companies get refunds on their fuel excise taxes.
All right, cool. So for the people that have no clue what that means, what is the fuel excise tax? Just so that they understand.
Yeah, good question. Most people do not know what it is. Fuel excise taxes are a tax that's levied on diesel and gasoline that we all buy for our cars and for equipment every day. And it's meant to fund the building and maintenance of public roads and infrastructure. So, highways, bridges, and everything else. So we all pay that at the pump. There's both a federal tax and a state tax. Federal tax on diesel, for instance, is 24 cents a gallon. States range anywhere from 5 to 74 cents a gallon, but excise tax is basically a road use tax.
Cool. And what industries is it typically? Can it go all different industries? Do you specialize in a certain industry, or what?
Yeah, we work with a lot of industries. And the idea is that we help companies get refunds on those fuel excise taxes. So if you use the fuel to power a vehicle over a public road, you have to pay the tax. That's what it's for. It's a road use tax. But if you use the fuel in off-road equipment, you might be eligible for a refund. And it's a complex process. It's one that the IRS and the states don't help very much with. It's really hard to find out the rules. We've been doing this for 18 years and that's all we do. We don't do anything else. And so we know the ins and outs of it very well. Really started with refrigerated trucking 18 years ago, but we've gotten into a lot of other different industries. So landscaping and the whole green industry is probably our second largest industry that we work with. And we work with all sorts of different varieties of green industry companies. So anything from landscapers to golf courses to tree companies to resorts and large scale landscapers, major projects, new home developments and things like that.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So give me an idea. What does this look like in terms of, a typical size company and what type of savings or, tax return coming back to them, just to give people a perspective?
Sure. Yeah. The short answer is it varies a lot. It really depends on a lot of things. It's hard to just throw out a strict example for you, but I'll give you a sense of things. First of all, we work with a wide variety of sizes of companies, companies that may only get $1,000 back a year, and we have some that are getting millions of dollars back per year. So a very wide range of sizes. So we like to work with everybody. We think we're in the business of helping people save money. And so we love doing that. And so we'll work with pretty much any size. In terms of a typical refund, it's really based on how much fuel you're consuming in an off-road capacity. So in the landscaping industry, you have the typical residential, commercial landscaper, golf course, homeowners association that has mowers and blowers and things like that. We think of it kind of on a per crew basis, but they're consuming either unleaded in that equipment or diesel, and the tax on diesel is 24 cents a gallon for federal, and unleaded is 18 cents a gallon. So you think about how many gallons you're consuming in your off-road equipment. And then states vary widely, and that's one of the really challenging things about what we do. And it makes it a good thing for companies to outsource, but because it's really hard to build up enough knowledge in this industry to know what the states are doing and how they're changing the rules and how they're all different all the time. But the states may range from 5 cents a gallon to 74 cents a gallon. They all have different rules. So we keep up with that and adapt to the company. So there could be a situation where certain states don't honor a diesel refund or don't honor an unleaded refund. It depends. So it really depends on where you are and what equipment you're using. But, we have companies, I would say, kind of a mid-size landscaping company that would do commercial and residential landscaping. That may get, we could say roughly maybe $500 per crew per year. We have, companies getting $10,000, $20,000 back per year, and kind of a mid-sized company. We have companies with, a couple crews getting it, $1,000, $2,000 back a year for federal. And then for states, if you're in a state, a high tax state like a California, you could get twice that on top of that. Also, for federal taxes, you can potentially, depending on what type of company you are and how you're structured, you could look back 3 years and recoup the overpayments in the past 3 years. In certain states, you can look back 3 years as well. California is one. But some states don't let you go back at all. Some only let you go back a quarter. And there's different deadlines in every state. So it's a hard question to answer straight up.
But I think you gave some good
gives you a
answers.
Sense of, let's say $500 to $1,000 per crew.
Okay, that's a good number.
Landscaping company, yeah.
So,
tree companies, the tree chippers use a lot of fuel, and the large scale companies that are using bulldozers and trenchers and things like that, they consume a lot of fuel. By the way, I should mention, it doesn't matter whether you own or lease or rent the equipment. It just is, the question is, are you using the equipment and are you buying the fuel?
Right.
Those are the deciding factors.
So I'm sure a few people, some of the audience, of their ears have perked up hearing, potentially some of that savings per crew. Yeah. Now, going from, not, I suppose, separating it out or detailing it, and never done this before. I mean, what does the whole process look like? I mean, that's something that they're going to have to completely change how they operate right now, or is it fairly easy to, adopt and start claiming that money back?
Yeah, no, they really don't need to change their operations at all. We really try to make this as easy as possible and painless as possible. We really would in 99% of the cases don't want people to change their process. And I'm a partner in the firm. I'm a business owner, and I've owned a couple businesses in the past. I know what it's like to change your process. We don't want anyone to have to do that. We try to make this easy. So essentially, as far as process goes, we look for a little bit of data, which for this industry is their fuel purchase receipts and their equipment list. And we take that information, we do the calculations, which depending on what time period we're looking back, we typically look back 1, 2, or 3 years. But let's say we just get the information for the past year, and we allocate the fuel between the trucks and the equipment, depending on what type of equipment they have. So we allocate the fuel consumption. So we do the calculations, we create the required filings, which will be filings for federal and for state refunds, create all those, send them to the client, they sign them, send them back to us. We attach whatever required documents are necessary, and then we mail them in to the government, meeting the deadlines and things like that. And then we follow up with the IRS in each of the states to make sure that the client is approved. And then the refunds go straight to the client. So the checks, whether it's IRS or states, will go straight to the client. Then the client lets us know, hey, we just got a check for $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, whatever it is. And then we send an invoice, and the invoice is just a percentage of that check. So there's no deposit, no upfront, no nickel and dime fees, nothing like that. It's just a straight percentage.
Okay.
We have a to start with, I should have mentioned this. We just have a one-page agreement. It's very easy, plain English. You don't need to hire a lawyer to read it. It's fairly easy.
That's good.
Nobody
like
likes to do that. So
No.
yeah, so that's kind of, we try to make it a pretty clean process.
Okay, very cool. So for companies that have maybe been winging it over the years and their paperwork's a little bit loose, I mean, how easy is that for you to come in and help them out?
Yeah, so we have a lot of companies who keep, typically one way or the other. Either they have paper receipts and they keep them in a box or a bin or file somewhere. And if they're not close to us, we're based in Texas. If they're not close to us, we file in every state. So they could be in California or Washington State. They can throw all their receipts in a box and mail them to us, and we'll take all that data and process it. We'll 10 key punch everything in. We have a team of people that does data entry and a team of people that creates the filings and does the calculations. So we do this for hundreds of clients, and we process all that information. So basically, they can do it that way, kind of paper-based, or there's companies that are bigger who might have a fuel card, which I highly recommend to a lot of people. Fuel cards help a lot, not just for us, but for their own efficiency in tracking their fuel and waste and things like that. But they might have a fuel card. It could be a WEX or ComData or one of those. And those, they can typically log on to the portal and download the fuel transactions into Excel and then email them to us. And then we can process the data through Excel. So that part of it really depends on the situation, but we'll adapt to clients. And we've had larger clients with paper-based records, and we've driven out to the client's location and spent 3 days scanning documents. I mean, I do that for clients that need it. I have a couple clients where we drive once a month to them and scan documents. So we'll adapt to whatever the client needs, really.
Okay. Any reasons why a client wouldn't do it? I mean, I'm just hearing a lot of positives between, getting money back, between making it easy process. I mean, anything you feel as though?
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything. I mean, we like to think that we really add a lot of value and that it's an easy process. I think sometimes people really don't believe it, I guess. Maybe they would say, well, it sounds too easy. It can't be true. It doesn't really add up to that much money, or, whatever it is. I don't want to mess with it. We're too busy. I think it's misconceptions usually is why people don't move forward with us. Usually if they think, well, this is going to take us a bunch of hours and I don't know how much money we're going to get back. I would say it usually never takes a lot of hours for the client, because we'll work around their information and their setup, their process, and make it easy for them. But also, we can give you kind of a rough estimate of what the refund might be up front. So you have a good idea of, the potential range. Until the check comes in from the government, you don't know the exact amount. But and it doesn't matter if you're a taxpayer on an income basis or not. This is not income tax. It's not related to your income tax. So you could be a company that makes a lot of money and pays a lot of taxes. You could be a company that's breaking even or losing money on their tax return. It doesn't matter. This is a fuel excise tax. It's not related to income tax. So it's a separate filing.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I suppose once you do that the first time and realize how easy it is, then they'll probably get the records in line for the next time you claim. So
yeah. And some people, after we go through this process, they say, you know what, I've been putting off getting a fuel card for a long time. I think I'm going to get a fuel card. I think it's a good idea to do that. I think even better than a credit card because of the data you can get and some of the discounts you can get on fuel. And believe me, I'm not paid by any fuel card company. There's that I have my own fights with from time to time trying to get data, but I do think there's an efficiency aspect to having the fuel card.
Talk about that for a minute, because when I had my company, we used a certain company, and certainly it was nice because we were able to download records, we were able to download mileage, compare it with our GPS tracking, so it helped with theft and servicing of vehicles. What other sort of benefits you see of using some system?
Yeah, you can set up, and I'm not an expert, but what I've learned over the past 3 years of working with the fuel card companies is you can set up certain restrictions on what a fuel card can buy and cannot buy, and you can customize that to each person. So, if you're a president or owner of the company, you may not have any restrictions. And if you're a supervisor, you may have a little bit of restrictions, or just a regular employee, you would have maybe a lot of restrictions. You only buy fuel with it or something like that. You can negotiate discounts on fuel. And then, like you said, you can do odometer readings where when they run the card to buy fuel, they're prompted to punch in the odometer reading. Or, there could be some other things where you could prompt the driver or the card user to punch in the unit number, the truck number, things like that. There are even some of the truck stops are getting pretty highly advanced as far as knowing, what type of truck, just by a RFID scanner when the truck drives by. I mean, it gets getting pretty sophisticated.
That's
and
cool.
I think it adds value. And like you said, the ability to download records, and not just the fuel purchases, but the odometer reading and using that for maintenance and things like that. So it's pretty good.
Cool. So one last question before we start to wrap things up. What's your, you obviously see all this, the reports, people talking about moving into battery powered stuff and propane and all that type of technology coming down the pipeline. How do you see that affecting things?
Yeah, I mean, certainly our business is based on helping people get refunds on fuel excise taxes. So to the extent things move to electric, battery powered, there won't be a need for a fuel tax refund if you're not buying fuel for your equipment. My understanding, at least in the landscaping industry, and I work in a lot of heavy equipment industry, pipeline construction, oil field service, general construction, that it's really, really hard to get the batteries to provide, the level of power in that you get from the diesel and gasoline units. So, until that technology gets there, and even the charging, I think, can be difficult. Batteries run out and you're out in the field. How do you get more batteries and the expense of that? I think those are challenging issues. And, I think it's coming at some point, but is that 5 years or 10 years or 15?
20, yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, I mean, there's definitely that option coming down the road at some point.
Yep. Okay, cool. So Jim, tell, if listeners want to get in touch with you, find out more about the program, maybe even start that whole process, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you or find you?
Yeah, no. So our company is called TIP Excise, TIP, which used to be Transportation Intelligence Protocol, but we shortened it to TIP. And Excise for the excise tax, EXCISE. Our website is tipexcise.com, and you can reach us through there. That's the easiest way. I'm on LinkedIn. My email is jturner@tipexcise.com, and happy to help. Please reach out. We can also link to this podcast and get any sorts of other information, my phone number and so forth. Happy to help anytime.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim, for your time today. That was really informative. I'm sure there'll be a few people will be connecting with you to see how they can get some refunds back. So thank you for your time again today.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks a lot, Robert. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Take care.
All right, you too.
Hopefully that was pure dead brilliant for you today, and we've got some great takeaways for your business and your personal life. This is Robert Clinkybeard along with David Anderson, and would love to get you and your friends to join us on our journey. 2 quick things before you go, listeners. Check out our website, thecommerciallandscaper.com. You can subscribe, you can share with your friends, but more importantly, check out our sponsors. We have Site Recon, who are going to help to capture measurements on your property and create a really streamlined process. And we have Company Cam, who make it dead simple to communicate, document, and problem solve with guys in the field, no matter where you are. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.